We have a new entry in movies this weekend called Ending Beginnings, starring Shailene Woodley, Sebastian Stan, and Jamie Dornan. Now that's a good Manwiched. Hey guys and gals, in lockdown this weekend we have a new movie to watch, and it's a good one, especially if you're a fan of Sebastian Stan, Shailene Woodley, and Jamie Dornan. They're stuck in a love triangle. And this movie is super duper sexy. The trio even stripped down and have some very tantalizing, let's just say, sex scenes that you might need a cold shower after that. So here's the story. Shailene Woodley's character, Daphne, has moved away from her work and her home to come live with her sister because she's broken up from a long-term relationship. Now everyone's telling her she should take time for herself, and that's the plan, is to take some time for herself, to rediscover herself. But then comes Jamie Dornan and Sebastian Stan, who are BFFs, and they take a liking to her, so they start wooing her, both of them, unbeknownst to each other, as best friends. So that's quite a dilemma, I would say. Some other people would call it a fantasy. But it's a movie, so there's got to be some conflict. So Sebastian Stan plays Frank, who is kind of the bad boy of the bunch. And Jamie Dornan is Jack, who is sort of a commitment phobe, but he wants to be in a relationship with Daphne, except he doesn't want to get tied down or have a baby. So they're both, one's a safer bet than the other, but they're both a little kind of screwy. Directed by Drake Doremus, who co-wrote the script with Jardine Liberia, who makes her feature film screening debut. Ending Beginnings, that's kind of a tongue twister, doesn't play out as expected considering the plot revolves around the love triangle. It's what I call a slice of life story. Viewers follow this woman's relationship with a man in a voyeuristic fashion. The two friends would tell each other about the other's encounter. So when you're expecting a blowout in the love triangle, it doesn't quite happen. There's drama, but it doesn't get melodramatic. So I guess that's a good thing. It keeps it kind of real. At one point, I expected a twist in which the two BFFs perhaps made some sort of bet who could sleep with Daphne first, but it never materialized. There is a consequence, though, from Daphne's dalliance, but not in a scandalous way most viewers would expect. And let me warn you, there is a sexual encounter between Sebastian Stan and Shailene Woodley that will have you needing a cold shower, as I mentioned earlier. The actors don't use body doubles for a steamy scene. Why? Because in a single shot, you see them revealed with their naked bodies grinding against each other. We haven't seen this much skin from both actors, signaling, at least for Shailene, that she's tackling very adult roles since Big Little Lies, and she plans to keep it that way. Although this role has some similarities to Jane from the HBO show. Shailene's sex scenes with Jamie Dornan is much more tamed. Unfortunately for some of us, he doesn't take off his clothes, probably because he's done with that stuff since he did 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. Another first for Shailene is her singing debut in a duet, and she has a lovely voice. So I can totally envision her in a musical next. And speaking of music, the soundtrack is great, with alternative music laced throughout as her playlist. One of the complaints was that the characters are texting each other and you can see it on screen. The director chose like a marker type font that's a bit distracting. I wish he would have just stuck to what we're used to seeing as a text interchange between characters. And then another complaint is how much these characters smoke. I have not seen smoking between characters since Mad Men. But it actually made sense then because we were talking about the 60s when smoking was kind of a staple of that era. But here it just seems unnecessary. It doesn't add to the story. I mean, if it was part of the story, then it would make sense. But here it just doesn't make sense. And it's not a habit that you want to promote in this day and age. So that's just me because that's one of my pet peeves is smoking. Ending Beginnings is an interesting watch, especially if you're a fan of any one of these three gorgeous specimens. It's a slow build, and you can't predict where the plot is headed, but the performances are worthwhile. In the end, you're rooting for Daphne to end up with both of them. Come on, ladies. How could you possibly choose between these two awesome guys? I know I couldn't, but that's Fantasyland again. Samuel Goldwyn's film is available now and on demand May 1st. So in the meantime, take care, stay safe, stay home, and we all will come out of this even better. Signing off.